Good afternoon, everybody. This is a live emergency update as we have a bomb cyclone, which is forecast to develop across eastern Colorado, move across Kansas up toward the upper Midwest. And some of the latest model guidance even show this potentially as one of the strongest storm systems ever to impact this region. So this is a live update. We are going to be talking about big time severe weather potential as well. Live bomb cyclone potential. Thank you, Team Dominator members. This is going to be next week, Friday. Next week, Friday, live discussion. Tornado outbreak in the warm sector. And blizzard conditions on the cold side. And some of these GFS ensemble members are showing a sub 970 surface low. And that means blizzard conditions on the cold side. Eastern Wyoming, eastern Montana, through a large swath of the Dakotas. And I think that there's also going to be a threat of a tornado outbreak. There is a lead system that might slow down that moisture return a little bit. And we are gearing up the Dominator. We are planning a big time science mission this year. We are going to be launching rockets once again, everybody. And we are going to supply a real-time rendition of the tornado, 3 dimensions. You're going to be able to see these sensors moving around inside of the tornado. Give Will Clay 25 a follow. We are going to have the Stinger cam as well on the back of the Dominator, and you're going to be able to see a real-time estimate of the wind speed inside of the tornado. That's going to be more than a reality coming up here, and we look forward to bringing that to you guys coming up. You're going to be able to see a real-time estimate. We're going to be like, wow, this looks like an EF3 tornado coming into some of these areas. And this is why I need to take shelter immediately. We've got 250 mile per hour winds being measured above ground, for example. We're going to color code a lot of those sensors as well. But this is what we've been working for over 20 years at Team Dominator. And we're going to have a multi-camera setup. You're going to be able to see the live stream from the drone as well as it lifts up above the car. Imagine rockets just shooting from the Dominator 3 into the tornado. And if we can get 3-dimensional analysis of the gradients and thermodynamics, we might even be able to eventually dissipate the tornado. So we're going to be working toward tornado dissipation even. So look at this. Afternoon of Friday, right near peak heating, blizzard conditions across eastern Wyoming, moving into the Nebraska Sandhills. And then we're going to watch that moisture return as it lifts northward. We're looking at the operational GFS that just came in from 18Z now. This lead system on March 12th, we're going to have to watch very closely. So we start usually at 500 millibars here at Team Dominator. Level of non-divergence. We like to use trough shape, of course, when we're doing our forecasting. Watch this lead system just off California. That's going to be coming in and might even bring some severe weather potential across southeastern Oklahoma into East Texas on Wednesday, March 12th. So we're going to have to watch this for storm chase potential southeastern Oklahoma into East Texas, nosing up into the Arklatex on March 12th. That's a pretty favorable trough shape normally for more significant severe weather, given a more significant moisture return. But it's this system right here that is going to lead to bomb cyclone formation on March 12th. So look at that ski jump trough ejection right there. That picks up a lot of dry air over the Mexico Plateau that comes in over top the moisture and creates big time instability. And this thing is going to dip down to like 967 millibars across western Kansas. And that's likely going to power through the I-35 corridor, likely to the Kansas-Missouri border, Oklahoma-Arkansas border. And usually with these big time storm systems like this, we'll get kind of a bimodal distribution of the severe weather. You'll get big severe weather just ahead of the surface low and Vort Max up across Iowa, portions of Missouri. And then you'll get another area of severe weather further south, Arkansas, Louisiana, East Texas, maybe eastern Oklahoma, pushing east to the lower Mississippi River Valley. And usually a big time trough like this creates major wind shear, nocturnal severe weather and tornado threat. And then look at this trough that comes in around the base. It comes in across the lower Mississippi River Valley. That's likely going to bring big time severe weather across March 15th across Dixie Alley. That's going to be Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky. You can definitely see this Vort coming in around the south side is going to be pretty significant as well. And then it looks like we might have severe weather after that. March 19 or so, another system comes in back behind it. Usually in March like this, if this wave train was coming out during April into May, we'd be talking about even more significant severe weather. But at least one favorable part is that with this active wave train coming out during March thermodynamics, you don't quite get the big time heat and moisture that you might get with April or May peak season thermodynamics. But when you get these bomb cyclones like this, you get blizzards on the cold side, you get big outbreaks across the warm sector, and you get a ton of wind shear as well. You're looking at the low-level jet, folks, at 850 millibars. This is a feature that's relatively unique to the Great Plains. And look at this just blossom on the 14th. The only limiting factor I'm seeing is because of that lead vort that comes out on March 12th might limit some of the moisture return ahead of this bomb cyclone on the 14th. And you can see 50 to 60 knot low-level jet wrapping right around that 850 low and surface low combo. Big low-level jet expanding off to the east out ahead of it. Probably going to see a nocturnal threat as you can see this ribbon of low-level jet just intensify from the lower Mississippi River Valley through the Ohio River Valley as well. There's your 850 low. Brian's working hard on our seasonal forecast, which of course is going to capitalize on the sea surface temperature patterns, realizing that we have the La Nina in the tropical Pacific coupled with the warm North Pacific leads to these coast-to-coast storm systems, Pacific coast to the Atlantic, high amplitude troughs, big surface lows, even bomb cyclones, large low-level jets. Right now, Local Man and Curtis are hard at work in the warehouse here working on the Dominator, trying to gear it up for tornado season because we really want to launch rockets on this. Give Will Clay 25 a follow on YouTube. He's done about $500,000 worth of work for us for relatively affordable. We're going to have to watch this initial threat here on March 12th, folks. You've got 60 dew points all the way up to the Red River. Might even have a little skinny arc of hail producers with tornado threat on March 12th. But this is a system that behind it, it's going to push the moisture back down into the Gulf. And then on the morning of the 14th, we'll just have to see how close these dew points are and if they can rocket northward on the 14th. There they go. And it looks like, according to the 18Z GFS, upper 60s dew points through the I-20 corridor, lower to mid-60s, all the way up through Little Rock, Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma on the 14th. And you probably only need 50s dew points up to the east of that surface low to get an arc of supercells with tornado-producing potential moving up into Iowa, portions of Missouri as well. And then the nocturnal tornado threat could impact portions of the lower Mississippi River Valley, upper 60s dew points, dominating Louisiana, East Texas, Houston, all the way up, 65 into Little Rock by 0Z now on the 14th. And usually these global models will underdo this moisture return. But look at all this moisture setting the stage for another severe weather outbreak on the 15th. And that's going to be down here probably. The warm sector compresses a little bit, but you'll likely have a Mondo squall line moving east through portions of the Mid-South. There's your bomb cyclone evolution. This 18Z GFS even shows an arc of supercells moving out into western Iowa by 0Z. And usually these big systems like this will be bimodal. You'll have a little cluster of supercell storms further north, and then you'll have another cluster of supercell storms and a tornado potential off to the south with the deeper moisture. These global models, though, don't do a very good job at pinpointing exactly where those are going to set up, and we're still 6 days out. But with these high amplitude troughs like this, you get a little bit more predictability with a system like this. Look at that blizzard on the backside on the morning of the 15th across the Dakotas, just raging down into the Nebraska Sandhills. Our good buddy Dan Fitz is going to be down there covering that blizzard likely. Anytime you get these really tight isobars like this, that means big wind at the same time as those blizzard conditions. And then we get another one back behind it. Another storm system which might be a little bit more positively tilted. Could even bring some snow into portions of the southern plains here by March 18, 19, 20. That could lead to severe weather. But right now that trough looks a little bit positively tilted. And then another one may be coming in toward the end of March. Very active wave train as you'd expect here with this polar front jet. Consolidated, a suppressed subtropical jet, so you usually get kind of a wavy, energized polar front jet that leads to these deep cyclones. This is a Colorado low, folks, coming out of eastern Colorado, leading to an arc of supercells just ahead of it. Watch this dry line push to the east. You get these really strong dry lines. Dew point drops into the teens in Oklahoma City behind that dry line. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to Oklahoma City. We're still battling that anti-storm chasing bill. Look at that dry push. You're going to have very strong eastward penetrating dry lines, synoptically driven dry lines, dew points dropping into the teens and single digits. And that's going to lead to wildfire potential across the southern high plains, eastern New Mexico, Texas Panhandle. Watch the dew point drop down into Oklahoma City. 25, 21 dew point there by 6 p.m. on the 14th. You basically get these eastward penetrating dry lines, synoptically driven. They blast east of the I-35 corridor, and there's your moisture access setting up East Texas, Louisiana, large swath of Arkansas. Looking at the winds, watch how these just ramp up on the south side of that bomb cyclone. Look at that right there, folks, across the Texas Panhandle on the 14th. That's by about midday on the 14th. Tomorrow's daylight savings time. This is going to bring dangerous wildfire potential back behind this dry line on the 14th across the high plains, western Oklahoma, maybe even extending into central Oklahoma there, those big winds. I think we're going to see a lot of that this year, at least in the early spring, as the severe weather is going to be focused across the eastern U.S. rather than the southern plains. And then I think during peak season into May, I think we'll see a short but active season across the southern plains. Look at that. The dew points never really make it up into Oklahoma City in time. But to know exactly where it sets up, we need to have those mid-range models, short-range models that'll do a little bit better. But wouldn't be surprised to see a nocturnal outbreak the night of the 14th. And then extending east on the 15th, when we have that vort that comes in south of that intense surface low on the 15th, we're going to have to watch here across the mid-south for more severe weather potential. But it looks like, as usual, this stubborn dry air over the southeastern U.S. could limit the eastward push of that stronger severe weather. Again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Team Dominator members, for making our science mission possible. We are going to be doing what you saw in the movie Twister in the late 90s, but in real life these days. So we're going to be launching sensors into tornadoes these days. We're going to be having a three-dimensional live rendition of those sensors, which will give us an estimate of the tornado strength. So we're going to be using some pretty incredible technology coming up this year, and we might be across the Mid-South on March 15th, just a couple of days before my birthday, which I don't celebrate. I haven't celebrated in 15 years by choice. So there you have it, everybody. On the 15th, we got some big dew points coming in there. On the 14th, Mississippi, Alabama. And then you get that eastward penetrating Pacific front moving all the way through portions of the Mid-South. Looking at these chiclets, you can definitely see that the 14th looks like some pretty significant severe weather, and then some less confidence in the severe weather later on in March. This is kind of a great tool to analyze the long-range accumulated supercell parameter, GFS ensemble accumulated supercell parameter. The previous runs are at the top, and you can see as it changes with the runs, a very consistent signal north to south. Or maybe even the 16th somehow coming up with some of these recent forecasts. But really, it could be one of the strongest storm systems ever as it ejects across the plains. A lot of times in the early season, the supercell parameter is muted just a little bit because of the more limited thermodynamics this time of year. during March. But we are going to be activating full-blown storm chase mode. The only thing that will limit severe weather potential on the 14th will be this moisture return, but you can see mid to upper 60s dew points dominating portions of the mid-south. That's a very large warm sector. You're going to have a deep bomb cyclone moving up through Kansas off to the east. I could give you guys a little sneak peek of my tornado forecast, but Brian is working hard right now on that new video, so we're going to be rolling out that video. But basically it's going to show an eastward shift in the tornado maximum this year. Central and the eastern United States, we're going to see a breakdown to that ridge across the southeastern U.S. I'll show you a little bit of what bases that forecast. It's these Pacific Ocean sea surface temperature anomalies. Thanks everybody for tuning in. They are hard at work right now in the Team Dominator warehouse, putting in the new dryer right now in the back of the Dominator so that we're not stranded on the side of the road. So here you see this latest sea surface temperature anomaly field for the tropical Pacific. We've got a La Nina that's holding on, but interestingly, we have an El Nino that's starting to invade the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, and I think that that could even lead to a more active Great Plains season during the peak spring. That will be a little bit different than what we've seen recently, so I thought that maybe that La Nina might hold on a little bit more. But look at this. Look at these warm anomalies that are coming in the eastern tropical Pacific. That right there, folks, is El Nino that's starting to come in. And we're starting to get some weaker trade winds out there, but you're starting to get some of those positive anomalies begin to show up. You've got La Nina that's getting suppressed across the across the date line. And you've also got this warm water from off the coast of Japan across the North Pacific, and that's the warm North Pacific oscillation. Usually when you have warm water across the North Pacific, it helps to encourage ridging across the North Pacific and amplifying storm systems across Western North America, and that usually means you get an above normal tornado season on the year when you have that warm North Pacific. But when you get La Nina conditions like what we've seen since December, usually that leads to a suppressed subtropical jet, and you get this consolidated, wavy, energized polar front jet. And that's what we're seeing during March with this active storm track. Still have a warm Gulf of Mexico, so we're definitely going to be able to get that moisture pumping northward from the Gulf. But this is interesting. Starting to get those El Nino conditions coming in across the eastern tropical Pacific. And I think that that could mean that we might even have a more active Great Plains season this year, folks. That means more rocket launches. But it also means some problems that could be across portions of the central and eastern United States with these big outbreaks. Just like 2011, we also have this slug of cold water coming in from the western Pacific. But overall, you've got a warm North Pacific oscillation across the western Pacific and the tropics, and that should lead to kind of a pulsed nature to the severe weather. It'll be pulsing quite a bit. We'll definitely get these outbreaks, possibly even super outbreaks that will happen across the central and eastern U.S. But first, we got to get through the bomb cyclone, everybody. That's going to be coming up next week. Wildfire potential across the southern high plains, a blizzard on the cold side of this system. The GFS ensembles are even showing many of those members being a sub 970 millibar low. The European model is kind of down into the mid 970s, mid to upper 970s, but still also shows some pretty significant severe weather. And we're going to be watching blizzard conditions on the cold side and definitely the possibility for a more significant tornado outbreak. There in the Twin Cities, you might be kind of in between. You might be north to where the bigger severe weather is going to happen, but southeast to where those bigger blizzard conditions are going to impact. That'll probably be the Dakotas, back across portions of the central and northern high plains with this type of a storm system. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this live emergency update. Thank you, Team Dominator members, especially, for making our science mission happen. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Never stop chasing.